Life Management Science Labs would like to acknowledge that we live and produce this podcast on the traditional lands of the Wurundjeri people. We'd also like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands of our listeners and our international colleagues. We'd like to pay our respects to their elders past, present, and emerging. Hello everyone, and welcome to Wealth Pathways, the Affluence Science Insights Podcast produced by LMSL, the Life Management Science Labs. We are champions of life management science, providing structured insights informed by science and inspired by practice on key aspects of conscious living. Each week, we bring you scientific and practical insights on each element with the expert knowledge of professionals in the field. I'm your host, Marie Stella, coming to your ears from Naarm, Melbourne, Australia. Let's learn together.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the show. So in this episode, we're uncovering how financial management software can elevate affluent lifestyles. So we'll explore tools that simplify wealth management, help make informed decisions, and ensure long-term financial stability with confidence. And joining us today is Professor at the School of Computer Science and Engineering at UNSW Sydney, Professor Fethi Rabhi. His primary role is conducting research projects as well as teaching subjects in computer science, software engineering, and information systems. Hi, Fethi. Welcome to the show.
Hi, everyone.
It's so lovely to have you here. Now, financial management, I feel like, is such a crucial topic, and everyone has to deal with that at some point in their life. But I'd love if you can tell us a bit more about your work and how you got here.
Okay. I'm nothing to do with finance. I'm a computer science by profession. I've worked with computers and software all my life, from doing my undergraduate degrees to my PhD to migrating to Australia in around 2000. Since then, software has affected the world of finance in dramatic ways. So finance people needed software engineers to work with them very closely. So I got more and more involved in projects. And I am the techie working with finance people. They have business goals and they say, how do we do a particular software to reach out a particular business goal? And my role was to build that software or tell them that's not possible. So I've worked many years in building software for different projects, different stakeholders. And I think what brings me here, I guess, is reflecting in the area of financial affluence, maybe from a different perspective. Most people will come from a financial advice background and they will be talking perhaps from a certain angle. My angle might be a bit different. So hopefully there will be a few things that I will be able to say in a different way to enlighten your audience.
Yeah, no, I definitely think you'll have a lot of enlightening things to say for us. But before we get into that, we have a section called Have You Met Fethi? So here we just get to know you a bit more before we dive into everything. So my first question for you is, what is your favorite book, or do you have one?
One of the books I read recently, which I particularly liked, was called Nomads. And it tells the story of nomads in general. And nomads are peoples and civilizations that move a lot. And it shows that history hasn't been kind to nomads because we tell the history of settled people. But the people who move around a lot are often forgotten. But they are usually the glue that binds different cultures together. So nomads brought ideas from China and India to Europe. Nomads brought some ideas from Europe to Africa and so on. So they played a big binding role in taking knowledge from one place to another. And their role hasn't been really recognized. And I thought it was a fascinating book, particularly that I feel also having lived from, coming from North Africa to England to USA to Australia, yeah, I'm a modern nomad, and I feel the book was talking to me.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. That sounds really interesting, actually. I would love to check that one out. So thank you so much for that. Our next one here is, what is a movie that you have recently enjoyed?
Uh, the work doesn't give me the luxury of watching many movies, but one that I've seen recently is the remake of The Planet of the Apes.
Oh,
And again,
yes.
that was an interesting, I guess it's something that tells us that as human beings, we have to think about the way we do things and the way we operate. And perhaps, we've gone too far in the pursuit of, power and money, and we should be more like animals, thinking about being together, being conscious of the earth that we live in. So yeah, that's one of the films that I found very interesting.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. And I love how you found like the underlying message of the movie as well. That's really cool. Perfect. So we've got a couple more questions here. And the next one is, are you listening to any podcasts at the moment?
Not really.
No.
So I think again, it's something to do with a crazy lifestyle of doing work, research, and looking after the family. And what I tend to do is more going into YouTube and listening to various documentaries. I love that. And the good thing about YouTube is it will just go and take you to different places. And I think I like the way that you can listen to things that you didn't want to listen to. Because I think always with podcasts, you have to make a conscious decision to listen to something. But I like the fact that I'm made to listen to something that I didn't plan to listen to. And I think this is a good thing, to just be taken to places that you didn't anticipate to end up in.
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually. Yeah, because with podcasts, I try to listen to them sometimes, but then you have to find the right podcast you want to listen to, and it's very intentional. But with YouTube, you just open it up and there are a bunch of videos recommended for you. And then you go down that like YouTube rabbit hole, right? And then you just keep watching video after video. Could you tell us the most recent documentary you watched?
I quite like history because,
Yeah.
again, history tells us about. I always find that history tells us about the present, and some of the, for example, the history of the Mongols. I actually listened to some about the history of India, and you always see that what appears now is very different from what the reality is, and you understand the complexity of a country, for example, when a lot of people reduce it to some stereotypes. So history is definitely of cultures that are not sufficiently explained and explored. Most people, from history, they just know 2 or 3 things. But I like to go into some periods in our past that are not very well known. And Spain, for example, very few people know about Andalusia and the civilization there that was very prosperous. And I would recommend these fascinating documentaries that are coming.
Yeah, well, I was just there actually in Spain.
Oh.
Yeah, and it's beautiful and it's so rich in culture. It's probably one of my favorite places in the world, like definitely my top 5 favorite places. The architecture is so beautiful. And I feel like there's a really type of hidden history that not a lot of people know about. As I was exploring, I was in Malaga, and as I was exploring, I just realized that there's so much about Spain that I didn't know. So yeah, really a fascinating place for sure. And I've got a last question here for you, which is, do you have a role model?
I think most role models, I would say that people tend to mention. I don't like particularly people who put themselves to the front too much. I think my role models are really people who work in the background, and they're not really into self-promotion. And I would not mention one in particular, but for example, if you look at software, people don't realize that software a lot of it has been written by people who've been working in the shadow for free. So we have things like Unix, Linux, we have programming languages, we have browsers, we have many of the internet protocols. So I think these are my role models, really people who are not particularly known, but they would be known within a particular community for giving their time and being from the area of software. Maybe it's a way for me to, recognize their role, and I think it has to be recognized.
Yeah, that's really great. Thank you for sharing that with us. And I want to dive into our topic for today. But I'd first love to start off with asking you what you think affluence is in your own definition.
Okay, I think definitely I would say what it is not.
Yeah.
And I think people think about affluence as being rich. And I think it's more to satisfy your goals. And if you have satisfied, and your goals could be very different. And if you are at peace with your goals and you've achieved them, whether it's accumulating wealth to a certain extent or whether it's living very simply, it doesn't matter as long as you're at peace with yourself and you've reached a point that you're happy. And I think that's important. The other thing I think is important is emphasizing the role of community, because affluence doesn't come by accident. People have made sacrifices, whether it could be your community, could be your parents, could be your friends, whatever. Yeah. So you got there because of some people. So you have always to give back, and affluence is also being in a position to give back, and I think that's important, because the cycle will just continue. You give back to people who are also going to give back to the community. And I think affluence is really to remember what are your goals and not somebody else's goal. So I think we tend to, unless I'm doing this and that, I'm not going to be affluent. And you have to ask yourself the question, where does this come from? Did somebody plant this idea in my head?
Yeah.
And whoever plants the idea that you need to buy a Ferrari or something, that means somebody's trying to sell you something. So you have to be careful that your goal are not somebody else's goal that was planted in your head. And we can have very modest goals, we can have ambitious goals. It doesn't matter, but it has to be yours, and it has to be something you're comfortable with and happy with.
Yeah, I think you've brought up some really great points. And the fact that affluence isn't something that's objective, but more subjective. Like you said, affluence can be different for everybody. And I think that's really important, because I feel like we've grown up with this idea that affluence is having really expensive things and being rich and having the fanciest cars and, that sort of luxury. But like you said, there's things in community that we can find, but also within ourselves. And I like how you brought up the concept of peace, and whatever brings us peace can make us affluent as well, is really interesting. What role do you believe that financial management software plays in this concept of affluence?
Yeah, I think software will play three roles. It will help you look into the past. It helps you understand the present, and it helps you plan for the future. So the past will be, for example, banking software. It looks at your spending patterns. You look at, whatever ways you do stuff. Are there any improvements? Are there any savings? Are there any things you are doing that you shouldn't be doing? It also looks at the present, where am I now in my journey, in my life, and what are the things that I need, and how can I plan for these things? So it could be super calculators that says, how much do I need to put money aside to be comfortably retiring, or I have some funds and, should I invest them now? Or it could be I don't have any funds. I have a lot of debts. How do I reduce my debt burden? And then plan for the future. So you can do various scenarios. What if I do this? If I do this, this will happen, and so on. So the tools and the software is really about managing the finance at different points in your life, and kind of looking back, looking down, looking forward, play different scenarios. It also helps remember decisions and reflect on the past, because many people, they dig their hands in the sand. And I don't want to look at the data. It's too bad, but it's the opposite. It should be okay. The software helps you with a cold head look exactly at the situation, face it, take some decisions, and it will remember these decisions so that later you can say, well, I took this decision, it's not working, let's try something different. Whereas, digging the head in sand would mean that you just keep digging yourself into more. And also I think many people will be ashamed to talk about their money problems, or if they have experiencing various financial issues, whereas software is very neutral, and it's not going to judge you, or it's not going to make you feel bad about why did you do this or that. It will just give you facts and help you manage your finances better.
Yeah. And what are some of the most common software that you've seen for financial management?
Yeah, so obviously there are lots of them. So the banks will give you different calculators. So, for example, mortgage calculators, where how much you can borrow or over what time, what type of horizon. And then some softwares will be to do with super, and they will ask you about your spending, and then based on your spending, how much you can put aside, and investment ones. So they're all very similar in the sense that they want to know about your situation. So you have to put data on the software to inform them about how much you earn, what you have, and what are your wishes and risk appetite. And then the software will give you recommendations. Some will do it over a short time period, some will do it over a long time period. And the most important thing about financial management software is that you need to use the right tool for the right job. So for different decisions, different softwares will, and I think that's one of the problems, is many people will not be aware that there are software systems that will help them in a particular situation. So it's not a problem of availability of software. It's more a problem of awareness from people that these things exist. And I would, encourage everybody in a particular situation to always look for a software, because somewhere somebody must have thought about creating a tool that will handle their particular situation.
And I was just wondering, what are some of the most essential features that financial management software should have to help people most effectively?
I think the first question is fees, because in this life, nothing comes free. So if a financial software is available and you can use it and you don't have to pay anything, then who's providing that? Is it, obviously, if it's a bank that's providing the software, they will encourage you to use their products. So you always have to be very clear about, how much you're paying for the tool, and if it's free, what are the strings that are attached, because that's important, and it tells you whether the advice is completely independent, or whether it's has some bias in it. The other thing is the features. You have things that are very general, and I think for some people who are new to this area, that might be fine. You need to reduce your expenses and you need to invest and you need to. I mean, these are very general things, and that's fine. But some people really need very customized. So the ability to customize the tool is very important. Is it able to give me really the kind of very precise advice? And obviously, if I go back to the issue of fees, the very general ones, they will be free, but the very customized one may have, to pay a subscription. Particularly, one of the most difficult things for software is to know you and know, what's your situation. There is something called open banking. And open banking is you allow a software to access your banking data, and banking data will inform the software about, for example, your spending patterns. So the more sophisticated software will have the ability to know more about you than you know yourself. I think I'm predicting that even some software system will be able to go into your social media, and based on your social media behavior, they will be able to know your age, your friends, what you do in your spare time, and maybe also customize their advice. So features, if the software can learn about you as much as possible without you having to fill in 200 questions, that's a very good feature. And I think many people who build software, they try to do that because they know that, especially young people, filling long questionnaires is not something that they like to do. The other thing, just to add to that, is privacy is important as a feature, because you are giving so many details about your life to a piece of software. It's very important that you have guarantees that this data will remain private, that this data will not be used to throw advertising to you or sold to other third parties. So obviously, if you get advice for free and you have a little small print that tells you we can do anything with your data, then you have to think twice about taking that free advice, and maybe you should pay for peace of mind and for having your data secure. So I think these are the most important features of any financial management software.
Yeah, and there's so much software out there. And even as you've been speaking about these features, I'm realizing how there's so much to consider. So how do we find what software is right for us?
That's a good question. So a lot of it is communities talking to each other. And I've used this, and, it helped me. And I think word to mouth is probably the best thing at this stage, because there's always an issue of trust. Do you trust this particular piece of software? But if somebody's used it and they're satisfied and they're saying good things about it, then that's fine. But I would say the area has lots, and I'm expecting perhaps more government intervention. So government, the laws at the moment about financial advice are really not suited to tools. They are more laws that concern the traditional financial advice, and maybe with the laws changing and opening up to financial tools and having some kind of certification and guarantees of quality, the number of tools will become a bit more manageable. Also in the education space, that's us, it's not being taught at the moment. So the traditional teaching is still oriented the old-fashioned way, and I think introducing more teaching around existing tools is important, and it should happen over the next few years. So we're not there yet, but I see that we are going that way.
Yeah, and you did speak a lot about different features that exist, but do you think there's a way that software developers can make tools that are more accessible for a broader audience?
Yeah, definitely. Software developers, they have at their disposal a range of very innovative technologies. And I think these technologies enable them to do things they couldn't do in the past. So the use of cloud, people can access advice from their mobiles. In the old tools, you had to go to a computer and log into a website and enter data. But now with mobile platforms and linking the mobile platform to your social media, then you can access other sources of data. So that integration of your personal data and mobile devices opens up a way for software developers to create new tools that are more appealing and more usable. The other thing that software developers should do, and maybe they don't always do, is when they build tools, they have to work with other people that are not from the software industry. So, for example, there are people in actuarial studies that specialize in how to look at long time horizon to provide people with financial products that fit their requirements. You have people from the financial area, the people from economics, and most importantly, you have people from psychology, because there's a lot of psychological resistance to use tools. So how can you work with somebody from psychology to make a user interface or the software more appealing? And I would always say it's not just a technical problem. So we need people from behavioral science, social science as well involved in doing questionnaires, studies, surveys to find out the best way to offer advice to different. And there's no one size fit all. You need to do that to different segments of people, and technology gives you that ability to do the customization, but you need the knowledge from the experts to be able to offer that. So software developers have to get out of their little space and engage more with people maybe they don't normally engage with, like social scientists, behavioral scientists, and people from business and finance.
Yeah, so a collaboration with all different types of industries.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. And how can financial management software help users align their spending more with long-term sustainability as opposed to just what they need in the moment or in the short term?
Yeah, I think the biggest problem is financial management software is used in a very arbitrary way. So somebody decides, usually when you have a financial problem, you start looking into your finance, and sometimes by this time it's too late. You've done certain things that are very hard to reverse. So I think financial management software has to go out of the traditional model of I decide to get some advice or do something, I log in and I try get the system to tell me something. And we call this the pull model. You kind of get the information. And from that, we need more to go into software that tells you when things happen. So that's more a push model. So for example, let's say your spending is in a way that you'll be in trouble in 6 months. So what happens is you get an email or an SMS saying, if you carry on doing this way, you're gonna be in trouble, or the way you're accumulating your super is not going to lead you to comfortable retirement. So rather than you seeking information, I think software has to send you information, alerts, notifications whenever certain things are happening, or it doesn't have to be always when you're in trouble. It could be a good opportunity. Oh, there's an opportunity here for you to do something, and you should take advantage of that. Whereas, you're very busy, and if you didn't have that notification, then that opportunity could have passed you by the time you look into it. So I think that is what the software needs to move into, rather than what it is at the moment, which is very passive and triggered by your actions.
And I was also just thinking about this concept of trust, because we're quite used to doing things face to face and having someone consulting with us. And I feel like that feels a bit more reputable because we go to a bank, for example, and we talk to someone who works there. How do people learn to put their trust in software, especially if they're inputting data? How do they trust that that's telling them the right thing? Because this could be for something really important, because obviously finances is a really important issue.
Yeah, so software doesn't have to be fully automated. So software could still involve people. So you could be, I don't know, for example, when your situation gets to a certain point, an alert is sent to your accountant, and the accountant gives you a phone call. So software can still have people in it, and software can make existing arrangements working with people more efficient. So it's not necessarily that software means that something is completely automated and you're dealing with the software directly. In some cases, it makes sense to have full automation. In some cases, you may have to have what you call a human in the loop, particularly when you have AI. And with AI, certain things could be decided by the AI system in a completely autonomous way. In some cases, you need some oversight by human beings. So the issue of trust is really hard one. And there is, again, the possibility to embed humans into the software, and I don't see why not. Plus, as I said before, if you design your software with the help of people who are from the fields of psychology and behavioral sciences, they will perhaps know what's the best way to overcome some of these trust issues and lead to better software. But it's a very important point.
Yeah. And do you think the goal of software is to make things fully automated, or is it more just to aid, the face-to-face, or make things a bit easier in that process?
I think it's give you the choice.
Yeah.
For some people, fully automated and set and forget, that's all they want, and they don't really need. Some people have trust issues, and they really like to have somebody verbal. So software really gives you that flexibility to work with different models, and also it depends on the level of education. So software has the ability to cater for different segments, for different people, and I think we should not do it one way or the other. So in some cases, it facilitates existing collaboration. So this is how, I don't know, if you say, I like to go to a bank and talk to a human being, well, I can do that over Zoom. And all we do is the technology is facilitating that interaction.
Yeah.
Or it could be a chatbot that you talk to, and in some cases, and we've all had experiences where, for example, if I deal with my bank and I tell them I'm going on holidays, a chatbot is perfectly fine. I'd say, I'm going to leave on this date and come back on this date. And they say, fine, we've recorded it. And it works very well. But try to tell the chatbot something else. That's very tricky. And it just doesn't work. So I think having the flexibility and having really the ability or the willingness to deal with different market segments or different users is important. The problem we have is some segments are small And so, for example, you may have few people who want certain things to be done the old-fashioned way, but the number is small, and many financial institutions find that they don't want to spend the money catering for the needs of these smaller communities. And I think this is where universities, government, non-profit organization can step in and cater for these needs.
Yeah. And what do you see as the future of financial management software?
Well, definitely AI is going to be
Yes.
playing a big role. AI is still immature at this stage. It's many startups are exploring different ways of providing advice, and regulation is a big problem, because even if you can do it, sometimes the regulation doesn't allow you to, and you need the changes in regulations before you do that. But it will happen. That again, if I go back to one of the biggest challenges is how does the system know your goals, and how does it know your situation? And at the moment, you fill forms or you have to give access to your data, but in the future, you can just have a conversation. You can use natural text to explain, certain things, and systems will be able to comprehend that to some extent. And then when I was talking about the information being pushed to you, that this could be done by intelligent agents. So you could have software systems that are following you for life, and at certain points they will come to life and tell you what to do, and guide you through your choices, and because they know you, so they will remember what you are and what you've been doing and that sort of thing. So I think definitely AI will play a bigger role in not just financial management, in many aspects of our life, including financial management. And at the moment, the capabilities are there, but there are many things like regulation and privacy and security. So there's huge challenges before that can happen.
Yeah. What do you think the first thing would be to address?
In this space, it's really data. So data is a big problem, especially who owns the data. So you're doing transaction with your bank, you have your social media, you have your health, you have and data, as they say, is a new gold. Everybody wants it, and at the moment, it's not clear, what you can do, what you can't do. And there are many different regulations, sometimes that contradict itself. So we need a very good think about data, who can have it, who can do something with it. And I don't have the answer, but I know it's a very big problem. And I think that's the main challenge that needs to be addressed.
Yeah. And I'd love to ask you about a practice that you use personally for your own financial management.
I have something that I've always used is, I call it the third rule. So, sometimes you work and you do a job and you get, you get some $1,000 or $2,000, and you're thinking, what should I do with it? And temptation is I want to enjoy it, or I want to save it, and you don't know. So I use the third rule. I say a third of it I'll just need to burn immediately and enjoy it. I don't want to wait. A third I will put just in a short-term account for unpredicted events. That if something happens, your car breaks down, or the water in your house gets a water pipe bursts or something, and you have to pay an emergency plumber. And the third is just long term. You put it aside for a long term project like a trip or something like that. And I find it works for me, because I kind of can enjoy myself, and also I have some money aside for emergencies. But at the same time, from time to time, you can do some big project as well.
Yeah, I love that, because I feel like if I like do a job and sometimes I get that money, I'm like, oh, I'm just going to spend it all, because why not? And it's so tempting, especially when you just get that money, to just spend all of it. But how do you stay disciplined with that third rule, like a third just for spending, and then the short term, and then the long term?
Yeah, you just said. I think there is nothing better than setting different accounts, and
Yeah.
I think no matter how disciplined you are, if you look at your bank account and you see money, you'll spend it. So, but if you put it in a different, I mean, you can open an account in a different bank, and then you just send it there, and you completely forget about it. And I think that helps the discipline. And also with money, one of the problems is guilt. People, it's natural in people. If they spend it, they feel guilty. Oh, I should have saved.
Yeah.
And then if they save it, they feel guilty. I should have, I should have. So I think people naturally feel that whatever they do, they feel guilty about it. But if you have that rule, you just, there's no guilt, because you've done everything.
Yeah. And how long have you been using this rule for?
Since I was a student. I mean,
Okay.
I had very, you working on a very tight budget, and sometimes you have some money and you think, wow, what should I do? And I find that it just helps to especially when you're in a foreign country and you don't have help from anybody from your family, so you really need to have that discipline. Otherwise, you can't count on knocking on your parents' door or asking them extra money.
Yeah. And I think it's really good for students as well, and people younger looking for like a simple way to sort of manage their finances as well. Because as a student myself, I feel like it's sometimes really daunting thinking about financial management, especially with all the software that exists out there, and everything's so complex at times. And having something as simple as the third rule just makes things a bit easier for certain types of income, I guess, that you might get. Great. So we've now got our open mic section to finish off with. So here, I'd just love to hand it over to you to chat about anything that you would like to, Fethi.
I think maybe I go back to one of the things we mentioned at the beginning. We have to always remember that quality of life is the most important thing, and I think something like affluence shouldn't be taking too much of your brain cells. So I would say, make decisions at certain point of your life regarding not starving. So you just have to ensure that you will function.
Yeah.
And the second thing is you are able to make other people happy and contribute. Now, if your pursuit of wealth upsets people around you, then what's the point? So really, we have to remember why we are wanting to be affluent is to help others. Now, if you are working, 20 hours a day and you don't have time for your loved ones, or you don't have time to do anything else, you don't cook, you don't travel, what's the point? So it's easy to get into earning and for the sake of earning, and forgetting that earning and affluence is a way to lead a better life and enjoy a life and make other people also enjoy their life. Similarly, that we had other people looking after us, and it seems very straightforward, but I see many examples of people who forget that and they just get caught into, chasing wealth and status. And in the end, there are more important things in life. So,
yeah.
I think that's important to stress again.
Yeah. And do you think it's important to like remind ourselves of what affluence means to us as like an individual as opposed to what it means to the whole world or to a friend?
Yeah, I think affluence is to be a valuable member of a community. Now, your community could be anything, your people, your country, your football club. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
We need that recognition. We need that, being part of a group, being part of an enterprise.
Yeah.
And that affluence is what gives you that possibility. You get money, you can help a young person and give them a job opportunity, open up a career for them. And I think that's priceless. Or you can do something that you'll be remembered for. It could be something small, as I said. If you are in the open software, you build a piece of software that will be used by others and saying, wow,
yeah.
I'm so glad somebody did that. So I think that's what affluence is empowers you to make a difference and to contribute to the world around you. It's not to satisfy sort of your you can still do that with a third rule. You can still enjoy yourself partly and do stuff, but it shouldn't be just about that.
Yeah, I like that actually, that the concept of affluence isn't just like about yourself, but also like your community and like contributing to the world as well. I feel like it makes this quest for affluence a lot more meaningful as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and also you have to remember that if other people didn't think that way, you wouldn't be what you are. So you are what you are because some people, did things in different ways. So it's hard to say, oh, tough luck. They've done this. I'm gonna just enjoy myself and not give anything. And it just doesn't work that way.
Yeah, like someone else's affluence has contributed to you being here today. Wow, I really love that. That's really cool. Yeah, great. Well, thank you so much, Fethi, for joining us today and sharing your insights on affluence and software as well. It's been really lovely chatting with you. If our viewers want to find out more about you and see your work, where can they go?
Well, I have a LinkedIn profile. If they just type my name, it should come. And I'm always happy to connect with anybody. And again, people can contact me by email just by typing my name. I work at uni, so everything that we do is very, very well publicized and available publicly. So.
Perfect. Well, we've got all of Fethi's details down in the description below as well. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you all next time.
Okay, thank you for the invitation. Pleasure talking to you.
You've been listening to Wealth Pathways, the Affluence Science Insights Podcast produced by LMSL, the Life Management Science Labs. More episodes are available from 10 life management perspectives and can be found by searching LMSL on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and other podcasting apps available on your devices. If you enjoyed this episode, please rate, share, and subscribe to our channel so that other people can find it and we can continue to provide quality content. More of our work can be found on our website at affluence.lifemanagementsciencelabs.com, where you can join our movement. I'm Marie Stella. Thanks for tuning in.